Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rabbi Will Berkovitz, Schocken family CEO of Jewish Family Service, to the stage.
Hello, I'm Will Berkovitz, the Schocken family CEO. Thank you for being with us today and for believing in our work. I want to acknowledge that I am moving on from JFS later this year, and so this will be the last time I will be speaking to you from this stage. It fills me with profound gratitude and many, many conflicting emotions. But under the circumstances, that is not where I want to focus today. You see, I long for the day when this luncheon is no longer needed, when the basic dignity and well-being of those we serve is not constantly at risk, when the resources required to feed and protect vulnerable people are secure, not being stripped away. But sadly, that day is not today. Today, your presence here matters more than ever, and your choice to stand with us right now is an affirmation of your moral clarity, your integrity, and your awareness of our collective responsibilities as citizens to care for those in need. You see, I believe how we care for those among us who are furthest from power and influence is a measure of our true character. Together, we are committed to something larger than ourselves, something more enduring than our brief time here on earth. And today, that commitment is of great significance. This significance for me recalls an ancient legend about the building of the Western Wall in Jerusalem. When it came time to construct the temple, each group of society took responsibility for a particular segment. The priests built one section, the tribes of Israel, the leaders, built another. The Western Wall was assigned to the poor, who had no status, no wealth, and could not afford to pay others to do their work. They built it themselves, stone by stone, with humility, with sincerity, and with devotion. I imagine our distant ancestors standing with their families, looking proudly at the wall they had built together, gleaming in the morning sun. Tradition tells us it was precisely because of their personal effort and their sacrifices that the Western Wall endured, even as everything else crumbled during the Roman siege. Another legend says angels stood atop the wall, spread their wings, and wept, their tears shielding it from destruction. I wear an ancient coin around my neck from the time of that destruction. It has been worn over thousands of years, but the images and words remain. For me, it is both a reminder and a warning. A reminder of our values, our resilience, and our people's courage. And a warning of what can happen when extremism goes unchallenged, when division replaces community and arrogance overtakes humility. That coin reminds me and connects me to my ancestors and our story, and reminds me what is at stake. Because that is the work we are doing, each of us, whether we realize it or not. We are like those ancient stone carvers. Some among us may not fully understand what we are building or why. Others carve their stones simply to provide for their families. But there is a third group, those who carve their stones knowing they are part of an ancient covenant, joined together with their ancestors and their descendants. They understand they are contributing to something larger than themselves. They do not carve for power or glory, recognition or reward, but to create something lasting. As our tradition teaches, just as our ancestors planted for us, so too do we plant for our descendants. Our work at JFS is not just a statement to those around us today. It is a letter and promise to the future, about how to live lives of service with integrity, humility, and humanity. I see our staff, our volunteers, our board members, and each of you here today as part of that third group of stonecutters. At JFS, our efforts are part of a much larger arc of human concern. For us, it is not about what we can take wantonly, but it is about what we can give willingly, with our hands, our hearts, and a shared commitment to creating something lasting. It is about understanding the intersection between our unique Jewish history and our collective human values, and acting on those values by serving those who suffer in our community without question. It means actively resisting the tides of dehumanization and anonymity that permit cruelty to persist and, worse, become policy. JFS was built by those who came before us, refugees who arrived at the crossroads between the old world and the new. They brought their steamer trunks, their stories, their dreams, and a deep hope that their children's and grandchildren's lives would surpass their own. And we have. They dreamed of America before there was an American dream. They also carried an innate understanding of their roots. Picture those black and white photographs of your ancestors on your walls and mantels back home. They could never have imagined where we would be today. 12 years ago, when I started at JFS, one of the first things I did was bring our then 9-year-old son, Nativ, to the airport. We joined members of our refugee resettlement team to welcome a new family to the United States. I vividly remember Nativ playing on the floor with another boy side by side, yet separated by worlds. One a refugee, the other a great-grandchild of refugees. I wanted to offer him a small glimpse into the experience of his ancestors, what it was like to arrive as a stranger in a strange land, and to start the long, arduous climb to a better life. Today, Nativ is 21 years old, and he still remembers that night clearly. The small plastic bags the family carried, their weary smiles at arriving in the United States after a long journey from a distant refugee camp, and the warmth of our staff at JFS. Our ancestors' stories are not distant history. And sadly, until recently, those stories unfolded daily among those we serve at JFS, as new generations arrived seeking safety, a better life, and a hope that this is America at its best. Our ancestors understood deeply what was at stake and the meaning of this country. They never took their freedom for granted. My father enlisted in the Marines soon after he turned 18 during World War II, as did my uncle, who stormed the beaches at Normandy and liberated the concentration camps. Those experiences shaped them profoundly, and their stories, reality or myth, shaped me. I choose to believe them. But today, many of us are forgetting where we come from. We are forgetting our stories, our legends, our ideals. We have simply become too comfortable. We no longer feel it viscerally in our souls the way they did. And we have not been instilling this into our children. We must wake up to our communal purpose, our shared sense of destiny and conviction, our historic calling as a people. My parents' generation understood they were building something greater than themselves, guided by ideals rather than temporary political leaders. They believed passionately in the torch of freedom symbolized by the Statue of Liberty, a beacon that shines as a reminder for those in this land and a sacred promise to those across the world still living under oppression. Today, we are allowing that light to diminish. Recently, I visited Pearl Harbor and the sunken battleship, the USS Arizona, a tomb for more than 1,000 sailors and Marines lost on that December morning. On the morning of the attack, 2 young soldiers did notice something unusual coming from the radar on the north. They even reported it, but their warnings were dismissed by their senior officer, who replied it was just planes coming from the mainland. And so the men of the USS Arizona and all those on the island stayed unaware until it was too late. Today, we risk a similar danger. A toxic blend of willful ignorance, arrogance, and apathy that is threatening our democracy, our institutions, and our shared ideals. It has shredded the social safety net, making our work at JFS to care for the vulnerable far, far more difficult. The signs are clear, yet too many of us ignore them or choose to look away. At JFS, we see this impact every single day. Our food bank recently experienced its busiest day, week, and month in our 133-year history, busier even than the height of COVID. We are experiencing a record-breaking demand for food. This, while government cuts have resulted in a staggering 75% reduction in nourishing food from our 2 largest suppliers. Medicaid and Medicare programs, housing and utility subsidies that help our seniors and individuals with disabilities in our community are being cut or threatened. These are the people JFS has supported for decades and whose very lives are being targeted because of these cutbacks. For many of our clients, we are the only thing that separates them from living on the streets. Recently, someone shared with me that women in his community experiencing domestic violence fear calling the police because they worry about deportation, even though they have green cards. This is just a glimpse of the reality for many people in our community, people whose voices we rarely hear, and faces we rarely choose to see. JFS has been mandated by federal orders to abandon refugees we are under contract to support. Refugees who fought with coalition forces, children who survived trafficking. We will never abandon them. We will never abandon them, even as we are demonized and threatened. Even as our resources are stretched thin, we will never turn away, and we will never look away. Time and again, we are reminded that we were once forced to be strangers in a strange land, that we must extend our hands openly to those in need, welcoming strangers and protecting the vulnerable. This is not the America our ancestors dreamed of and fought for. This isn't just about the national debt or border security, and it is simply not about just fighting anti-Semitism. This is cruelty, it is vindictive, and it is wrong. And it is absolutely against our tradition, which explicitly commands us to care for the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. We each have a choice in how we will respond to this moment. Apathy is not an option. We cannot look to others to resolve these challenges for us. We must choose purpose over passivity, actively defending the freedoms and institutions that define our country. There is no word for sacrifice in our tradition. Instead, we use the word korban, which comes from the Hebrew root karov, to draw close. These are not sacrifices. They are steps. They are steps drawing us closer to the ideal of who we might become as a people, as a community, and as a country. Our tradition reminds us it is not for us to finish the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. We have been commanded to not stand idly by. There will be no angels with tears and outstretched wings to shield us from this destruction. The work is in our hands. Every act, every choice, it is in our hands. At JFS, we stand with the very people being targeted by these current policies. In some cases, we are the very people being targeted by these policies. On my desk, I have a prayer book. It was given to Jewish soldiers during World War II. On the yellowing pages of the preface, it reads, "May this prayer book bear the spiritual message of Israel's ancient prayers to the heart of American Jewish soldiers and sailors. The prayers gathered here speak of the eternal aspiration of the Jewish people, and indeed all people. May you draw inspiration for the present and help toward achieving peace for humanity." As I step off the stage for the final time, that is my prayer for all of us as well, that we never forget the eternal aspirations of our ancestors, that we find inspiration not only in their words, but in their deeds, in their korbanot, their sacrifices, and that we carry that legacy forward into the future. Like those ancient builders of the Western Wall, together we are creating something that will endure far, far beyond our time. Stone by stone, act by act, life by life, JFS remains a testament that can withstand the forces of indifference and division. Though I will no longer stand before you as CEO, I will always, always remain a stone carver beside you in this sacred work. It is and has always been in our hands. Thank you.